Good evening. Welcome everyone to this Tuesday, November 12th, 2024 workshop meeting of the Oyster Bay East Norwich School District. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Can everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Yanni for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. Kowalski, and good evening, everybody. I'm so glad to report to the board that the students are doing very well. We're already almost at the end of November. It's going really fast, but all wonderful things are happening in all our schools. The Halloween parades, which is absolutely my favorite part of the year, had brought parents, students all together, parading at Vernon in the parking lot, and then on the field at Roosevelt, and the students were super excited. It was nice to see them at a wonderful day. So, and a wonderful tradition, the Halloween parades. The Roosevelt birthday was celebrated like a traditional event that we have. All the second graders are going to the grave site of Theodore Roosevelt, and at the beginning when I came over here, I thought it was kind of weird that the second grader would go to a cemetery, but then after attending, I realized that that's a wonderful, wonderful tradition. We had several people speak about the history, about the connection that the Roosevelt had with the town of Oyster Bay. So it's a wonderful ceremony. We had the students sang the America the Beautiful, the second graders, and also we had high school students play taps, honoring the legacy of Roosevelt. So it was wonderful, and thank you to all the people that attended. So congratulations on keeping this tradition. Another wonderful traditions that we have over here at Oyster Bay is the 10th grade college trip. So this past weekend, we had 36 10th graders at a trip to New England College Exploration Trip, November 6th through the 8th. They visited colleges in Southern Connecticut, UMass, Brown University, Boston University, Bryan, and University of Rhode Island. Everybody had a wonderful time. It was 2 days. I want to thank all the chaperones. I know that Mr. Locastro, I think, is here. I had chaperoning. Dr. Dianca organized the whole trip. We had Miss Angela Kowalski and Kayla Pollins. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day, out of your schedule in the weekend. So I heard that the students had a wonderful time. Maybe next year I'll go too, and so maybe I'll apply to some colleges and go to college or go back. It would be great. So thank you for all the work that you have done. I have to thank Deborah Small, the principal of Roosevelt, Jennifer Caponia, our curriculum associate for elementary curriculum, and Michelle Squires for organizing the kindergarten math night. As a former math teacher, I think that's my favorite night because I never seen so many excited parents and students around mathematics. So it was wonderful. It was on November 6th. I attended the event, and they rotated from class to class. Parents were excited to explore the world of mathematics, which is something that is very close to my heart. So thank you for the wonderful job, and keep up the math kindergarten night. Thank you. The music concerts started. We had the December, it's going to be wonderful because we have a lot of concerts, but 2 weeks ago we had our first chamber music, which is nice because students play in singles, right? Solos, and I think it's very hard because if you don't play right, you can hear right away. So, but I didn't hear anything. It was wonderful music. So thank you to Mr. Sisia and all the students, and obviously our wonderful director, Miss Erica G. Yopak. Tonight, Tonight you see on the board meeting, you see a retirement of 8 individuals who have served our students for many, many years. I was trying to count the combined number of years, and it's a lot. So you see all those teachers and social worker and librarians retiring, and along with them, we also had last week we had Mr. Tester, head custodian from Roosevelt, putting his retirement. So we're gonna have a wonderful ceremony at the end of the year, but I would be remiss if I don't thank them for their service, for providing all the support to our students and sometimes even ourselves. So thank you for all the years of service and all the work that you have done. So before I invite to the podium Ms. Erica Geopak to introduce some of our stars, I want to wish all of you a wonderful Thanksgiving with you and your family. Hopefully you have time to relax, regroup, and enjoy a good dinner with your family. And I am grateful to be the superintendent of Oyster Bay. Thank you for all your support. So Ms. Erica Geopak. I think we sit up.
Good evening, everyone. So please bear with us. As you can see, we're amidst some set construction for CLU, but good news, we have tons of students who can come and remodel your home. They're very talented carpenters, painters, wallpaperers, so they're really learning a lot of amazing skills. But before we introduce our incredible students to the stage, I would just like to share some thank yous and some statistics with you. So there are 418 students who are enrolled in Vernon in grades 3 through 6. In this year's musical production of Willy Wonka, there are 106 student actors, 22 5th and 6th grade crew members, and 36 3rd and 4th grade painting and design students who worked on the sets and props. So that's a total of 164 students versus 141 from last year, which make up 39% of Vernon's entire student population participating in this production. So I hope that makes your heart sing. We're gonna need a bigger stage soon, I think, at Vernon. So it's really, really inspiring to witness the dedication that goes into creating just 1 hour of theater with our young artists. And as they say in Willy Wonka, we are the music makers and we are the dreamers of dreams. And I just want to give my heartfelt thanks to everyone who has helped our students bring their music and their dreams to the stage. So thank you to our Board of Education, our central administration, our clerical departments, both at Vernon and the high school, our Oban Arts Parents Foundation, Ms. Smith and Mr. Morrow, and our custodial staff, of course. But of course, I have to especially thank our production team, and I am going to embarrass them and make them stand, starting with our fearless leader, our director and choreographer, Ms. Terry-Ann Chiappardi. Ms. Kemp, our assistant director. Mr. Costidis, our music and vocal director. Miss Muller-Panola, who is our stage crew advisor. And Mr. Dolan all the way up there with the students, and Bayman backstage. We cannot wait to see you all this Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. for what I know will be an amazing night of musical theater. And without further ado, I would like to invite Ms. Chiappardi up.
Thank you very much for that introduction. We have a little treat for you. If you all notice, there is a Willy Wonka chocolate bar in front of you. If you open them, one of you is a golden ticket winner, and we have a little prize for the person who has their golden ticket. So if you open up your Wonka bars, Keep going. It's under the gold. If you have it, it's under the gold. For the record, I wrapped all these bars. It did take a lot of time. It's hurting me to watch you open them. Yep, you got it! So we have a t-shirt for you, and like Miss Julia Pack said, our favorite part is the back. So everyone can see it, and I'll bring it down to you. That's real chocolate. That is real chocolate, and we will have them for the show, and there will be real golden ticket winners at the show as well. But without further ado, I would like to invite the student performers to come up to the stage. You all are very much better at the walking, so. Tonight we have for you our lead Oompa Loompas. Just to give you an idea, I call them the tribe. There are 65 Oompa Loompas, but tonight you will see the 5 lead Oompa Loompas. We have Charlie, Bucket, Grandpa Joe, we have Willy Wonka, and we have our other golden ticket winners, Veruca, Violet, Mike TV, and Augustus, and their parents. So if I could invite the board to come have a seat in front. So not that I want to rush any of this process, but this is actually our finale, but it really brings all of our leads together. So we hope you enjoy, and we are going to take it away.
How Charlie makes everything she bakes satisfying and delicious.
Talk about your childhood wishes.
You can even eat the dishes.
Oompa loompa doopity doo. I've got a final puzzle for you. Oompa loompa doopity dee. If you are wise, you'll listen to me. There is a problem with lots of our youth. Not everybody likes telling the truth. Telling the truth starts a beautiful buzz. Isn't it nice when someone does? It could be contagious.
Who can take a sunrise?
Who can take a sunrise?
Sprinkle it with dew.
Sprinkle it with dew.
Cover it in chocolate and a miracle or two. Charlie can.
Charlie can.
We know that she can.
We know that she can. We know that she can, 'cause she'll mix it all with love and make the world taste good.
And the world tastes good, 'cause the candy man thinks it should.
So this is just a little sample of one of the many moments we have for you this weekend on Friday and Saturday night at 7 o'clock. We'd love to have you join us, and we're looking forward to making some magic happen. There are even some special effects you don't know about yet. So stay tuned for bringing the fun to life. Thank you again.
Okay, want to move on to approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as listed and attached below?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Let's move on to the opportunity for the public to be heard on agenda items. In accordance with the Open Meetings Law, school board meetings where school district business will be discussed are open to the public. The Oyster Bay East Norwich Board of Education welcomes public comment at its meetings. The Board of Education will respond to comments and/or inquiries in the appropriate manner. This portion of the meeting is designed exclusively for agenda items. A sign and book is provided for those residents wishing to address the board. In order to be recognized, you must be signed in. Each speaker will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes. The board president will call you to the microphone in the order in which you have signed in. Public discussion is prohibited regarding matters relating to an individual's reputation, privacy, or right to due process, which in some way could be violated. A second commentary period is provided for non-agenda items prior to adjournment. We thank you for your participation and cooperation. Mr. Anthony Caputo?
Hi, thanks for having me here tonight. I am the union president for OBENTA. We represent all the teachers and teacher assistants here in Oyster Bay. I'm a teacher here. This is my 29th year here in Oyster Bay, 31st year teaching. I'm here in support of your opposition to regionalization. So about 2 weeks ago, I sent a letter out to my teachers and teacher assistants, voicing my concern on 3 things. One, regionalization itself. The word is inherent with loss of local control. So as a teacher, I already have too many cooks in my kitchen already. So I don't need anyone more from the state or the federal government. As a union president, NYSED is my parent union, but they give me a lot of leeway to negotiate the way I see fit. And I'm worried that would take that away. And as a taxpayer, my local taxes should go to my local school. In 2009, I had to think about it with Keith Harrison. I went to a fair share rally with board members from Oyster Bay and the superintendent from Oyster Bay, asking for Long Island's fair share, which we still haven't gotten. And I think regionalization might mean taking away money from my local taxes to be distributed. So I stand in support in your opposition and keep up the fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caputo.
Thank you for your support, Mr. Caputo.
Ms. Melissa Augerman?
So good evening. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Administrators Union, and we want to express our unwavering support for Dr. Yanni and the entire Board of Education in their opposition of the New York State regionalization plans. We firmly believe that these plans are not in the best interest of our students or our community. I speak both as a parent, as a principal, and as vice president of our union that we fully support your opposition to this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Augerman. Okay, let's move on to approval of instructional personnel items. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the instructional personnel items as listed in their entirety. Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to non-instructional personnel items. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the non-instructional personnel items as listed in their entirety. Do I have a motion? Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to approval of special services resolutions. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the special services resolutions as listed in their entirety. Do I have a motion? Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to approval of new business resolutions. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the new business resolutions as listed in their entirety. Do I have a motion? Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to the items for discussion, which is regionalization. Dr. Yanni?
Good evening again. There's been a lot of conversation about regionalization over the past couple of last month or so. So I received a lot of questions. I mean, we posted a lot of letters to the community, and I would like to go over some of the key points and some of the discrepancy that we noticed. We as the administrative team and obviously the working with the Board of Education and understanding why some of the people in the community are confused about regionalization and the way things are going around. So the first thing that I would like to review tonight is where did we start? Talking about reorganization, which is something that they've been talking about, it, that regionalization is not reorganization. And also talking about the regionalization plan and the way it was described, and also to follow up with the community and a lot of people that have asked me at different places, how can we help? So the first thing that I would like to go over is when we had talked about the reorganization, when the word came out, is this? You want to flip as I? Okay. So the first one is a conversation that came up around July 2024, and there was a document that it was posted by the state, New York State Education Department, and that's the primer. The primer is an annual publication that highlights all the school aid concepts, and it talks about pretty much all the things that are coming up. And one of the things that we're discussing at that time, which is a document that can be found online in the primer, they were discussing the concept of reorganization, which is different than regionalization. So at that point, in July 24th, 2024, which is this past July, there was no conversation about regionalization. So it was just one of those documents that we received. And it talked about, if you go to the next slide, it talked about reorganization and what is the idea of reorganization. And the idea of reorganization is that school district would be the definition as is stated in the, move to the next, yes. Thank you. When you're talking about, they define the reorganization as the act of creating new school district in an area where one or more school district previously existed. So at that point, again, it was something that went on the side, was not a concern for anybody. So school district reorganized when one or more districts come together. The next thing that they talked about that is in that document is why reorganizing. And the interesting thing about reorganization is that this plan was put in place long time ago, way before our times. In 1942 was originally created, but in this primer, in this document, it states on the second paragraph that New York State Education Law 34314 authorizes the Commissioner of Education to continue to update the master plan for school district reorganization in New York. So again, at that time, we just continued to give the commissioner the authority to work on this plan that was in place in 1942 and revised in 1958. If you look at the next slide of this presentation, I answer the question of why reorganizing, and you see the first bullet, it talks about larger student tax base plus reorganization incentive operating aid, which is more resource, more educational programs, more support services, and more opportunities. And again, these slides are not my slide, not the board slide. This is online, is what's posted in the primer in July of 2024. I want to emphasize that. And the reorganization incentive building aid was a way to upgrade and improve building, grounds, and other school facilities. So when you continue on that document, you see that starting the organization process, over time, when you look at the last paragraph, it states it clearly that over time, it may become an obvious next step to start discussing a permanent reorganization or merger. So when you look at the reorganization incentive operating aid, which was one of the reasons why reorganizing, at that point is the additional state aid that is apportioned to a new district after a reorganization to support expenses resulting to the reorganization. So schools come together, reorganize, and then this aid is provided to help with the reorganization process. Now again, you're reading this, and most people like us, like the board read this, it was a non-issue in July. When you look at the reorganization incentive aid, prior to 4/20/24, which is last April, the reorganization incentive operating aid was based on a fixed dollar amount. New York State enacted budget on 2025, which is the budget that just passed this past spring, amended New York State Education Law 3602 to peg reorganization incentive operating aid to the total function aid base calculated as the effective date of the reorganization. So in other words, simple terms, prior to the 2024, it was a fixed dollar amount, then that changed, that was amended. Now again, the new calculation is beneficial to most New York State districts, however, long dominant limit on the reorganization aid that it was put in place, so you see that it was amended. Now, when you look at all this, one of the things that we notice when we go on the website right now, on the New York State Education website, you see that the second bullet is the fact that they stated that reorganization is not regionalization. So here you see some of the confusion, and the reason we bringing this up is because a lot of people are mixing the two things together. The words are very similar, but we were assured in multiple presentations that reorganization is not regionalization. So stay with me on this one. So now we're looking at regionalization the way it has been presented since September. When you look at the way we receive information is based, so what is the New York State Register? The New York State Register is pretty much a bulletin board. In simple terms, it's like a bulletin board where changes to state rules and regulation are posted. This includes proposed rules, adoption, hearings, and other official announcements. So this is pretty much informing the public, so as a bulletin board, informs the public on what's coming up at that point, during that time. So,
Register is a place where the agencies can post new regulations that they want to promulgate. And it's a place where we can watch and see what they're issuing, as any state agency. And then we can provide comments typically, and then typically they answer our comments before they adopt regulations, or they may modify the regulations. So this is something that school districts really we should follow, just to see what New York State Education Department is issuing as regulations.
So in terms of the information that we receive, when you look at the register, we had two times since September that this was posted. The first one was on September 25, and it talked about the emergency proposed rulemaking. This was the first time the register, first time we saw it, and they talked about regionalization, and there was an emergency proposed rulemaking. And then there was another one that was posted on October 23rd that talked about if you look on the side, they talk about the district superintendent, which I want to clarify. The district superintendent is not the Oyster Bay superintendent or the Jericho superintendent, Syosset superintendent. The district superintendent is the BOCES superintendent, the one that oversees everything. So when you look at the first register, it talked for the first time about regionalization and came up as an emergency regulation. And the second one, the one in October, talked about the roles and responsibilities of the BOCES superintendent. So those were pretty much, when you look at the district superintendent, it talks about a little bit about I have it on the next slide. It talks a little bit about the emergency rule. The first one talks about the emergency rule, and it talks about, in the register, people are talking about the regionalization as a conversation. But when you look at the emergency rule published on September 25 in the register, it's not simply a conversation starter, but is a regulatory mandate. In other words, districts have to comply. So it's not a conversation, you have to comply on what must be submitted.
And if I could just interject, the reason he's saying it this way, that's not just a conversation starter, is because New York State State Ed has come out after we've signed on to these letters opposing regionalization, that no, you're getting this wrong. This is just about having a conversation. This emergency regulation is just about having a conversation. So that's what was very concerning to us when we saw that. Sorry.
Sure. And when you look at the second one, the one that it was posted in October, and again, the reason we're sharing this is because we hear the message, but then we look at the document, which is pretty much what's in writing, and you see that the one that it was posted on in October, it grants the superintendent, the district superintendent, which is the BOCES superintendent, extensive authority to impose educational initiatives across components districts. And the second thing is that the BOCES superintendent does not currently govern our district or the superintendents. We work together, but despite the claims that regulation is merely a local collaboration and just a conversation, when you look at what's in writing on the register, is a little bit different. So, in general, when you look at the register, is pretty much, and the emergency regulation that they posted, when you look at all of that, is pretty much crystal clear in the documents. And what we did, together with the board, we wrote some letters concerning, sharing our concern, and later on, there was a fact and a presentation that was posted with the specific comments that people were making about the confusion, about all the discrepancy that people noticed. And so the state provided, very helpful, provided a bulleted sort of outline of what it is and what is not. So the first one is what regionalization is, and this comes straight from the state, right?
And if I can interject a little bit. After we sent our letter, the state has received over 3,000 letters from parents opposing regionalization. So in response to our letter, I think that's why they came out with this list of facts from fiction to say, you know, what you're hearing from these other school districts isn't necessarily true. And when we read it, and you'll see, we'll actually go through these regulations so you can see in the regulation where it says that this is not just a conversation, that they're using words like compel, and they're giving us timelines when we have to do certain things. They're saying what the superintendent, the BOCES superintendent can do, when they can come into our schools and inspect. So it's a lot more than just a conversation.
Thank you. So the most important thing is that what we are trying to share with the community is the information that we hear from the state, from other districts, and we also what we read in the register. So when you look at this first one, right, we just pretty much cut and paste each section to show you the discrepancy that you can see for yourself. So the first one is regionalization on a bullet number 1, if you look at the first bullet up here, is a local conversation. So that's what we cut and paste. It's a local conversation facilitated by the district superintendent of your sole supervisory district, so the BOCES superintendent. So then we got that from the presentation, right, saying, hey, this is what regionalization is. But then we look in the register, which is the document that is posted, and
which that document in the register can become law, right? As soon as it, and since they made it an emergency regulation, it immediately becomes like a law that we have to follow. So that's why we're really focused on the language that's in the New York State Register to see what we really have to do. Go ahead.
So you see that the highlighted section of it is that the proposed amendment requires that each component school district, which is each district of a supervisory district, work with the district superintendent to develop and implement regionalization plans at least every 10 years. Component school district, supervisory district will begin implementing that plan in 26-27. So that's the first question that we ask. If it's a conversation, conversation should not be connected to something that you must do and that is going to be in plan by a certain date. So that's one of the facts.
Wait, and also,
Yeah.
it's important to note that the state has said that the 5 largest school districts, which is New York City, Buffalo, Yonkers, Syracuse, and Rochester, they do not have to participate if they don't want to. So the state is also saying that, you know, school districts, if you really don't want to participate, you don't have to. But there's an opt-out for these 5 large school districts, but not for us. So it's just interesting that they supposedly are implementing this regulation for equity across New York State, yet the 5 largest school districts don't have to be involved.
So when you look at the next bullet, it talks about a response to declining enrollment. and timelines and mandate imposed on New York State and school district externally that may have recently accelerated. So it talks about the emergency. So when you're talking about an emergency regulation, and this is the part that the emergency rule is that the cause for an emergency is listed at something that is a little bit different than what we're dealing right now. So this is from the SAPA, which it pretty much states that the general preservation of a general welfare, because they say, well, this is an emergency regulation to preserve the general welfare. As for the preservation of general welfare, to ensure component school district in each supervisor district timely begin the regionalization planning process in an effort to provide students with equitable access to educational opportunities. Emergency rules will go into effect immediately with a 60-day comment period. So again, we have this information in September, first time we see it, and then you see the immediate sort of the impact that has in terms of becoming a law.
And I think what we think is happening is that the state's running out of money, right? And they tried to cut our foundation aid last year. They gave it back to us. And now what the state education department is saying is, well, we're concerned that the state aid is going to be cut again, so we need to act immediately to figure out what to do. And that's why they've declared it this emergency. Like the emergency regulations were typically used during COVID and things like that, but now they've declared because of the declining enrollment and having equity across the state, we have to have this immediate emergency regulation where the school districts are going to report to the BOCES superintendent and have all these requirements. And that's something that we don't think is valid and that we plan to fight.
So when you look at just exactly that, an emergency regulation, it bypasses the approval process and is in effect immediately. So again, there are a lot of things, but when we go back to the beginning, we're talking about sort of a conversation. This is just more than a conversation. When you look at the next one, regionalization, according to the State Ed Department, is a way to facilitate locally developed plans, right? But those plans need to be submitted, need to be approved, and they will go back and forth until they are approved. That's far from what you have over here, locally developed plans. Again, we're not adding anything in, we're just looking at the document that was provided and what's written down. And look at the two things and say, do they match? So when you look at the cycle that will go on, is that plan needs to be approved, and until it's approved, it's going to go back and forth.
And Dr. Yanni,
Yeah.
a critical component of that is that the approval, the plan is developed and submitted by the BOCES superintendent, not you. Right, not at the local
Yeah.
level, right.
The other slide that was presented to us was a slide that talked about what the regionalization is not, right? And so one of the first thing is about eroding local control, about regionalization is not reorganization. Regionalization is not a way to force district into actions, right? So we did the same thing. We combined with basically the register, what's in the register. So when you look at the first one, regionalization is not eroding local control. But when you look at the C, section C, you see that the district superintendent, which is the BOCES superintendent, I want to clarify because the first time we saw that, we thought about district superintendent being me and the other superintendent. This is the BOCES superintendent should serve as the representative of the commissioner for a sole supervisory district. They are responsible for overseeing the BOCES and the component school district, this role includes, but is not limited to, the regionalization plan. So you could read it that is not eroding local control, but then when you read that, it's a little bit different than what it appears to be, at least for a normal person like me. I'm not a lawyer reading that information. When you look at the next one, you could see that we would have one regionalization plan. So you're talking about local control, we have one for all the districts, so that's a little bit more than, it's not how many districts we have, 56, 58 districts in BOCES, so you're talking about one plan. You're talking about the fact that the department and the district superintendent should monitor the implementation of the regionalization plan and its component, and you can see on, and may conduct site visit and review performance metrics. If such metrics are not being met, the department of district superintendent shall compel the component district to amend, and so on. I'm not going to read every word in there, but you could see the how people are confused when they read the two documents and they put it together.
Right, and it also shows you that they can, now this BOCES superintendent, who has power to oversee our district, can actually come into our district, make our visits. If we submit a plan, they have the right to reject it, send it back to us and say, no, you have to meet our metrics, which they haven't specified what they are, and you have to keep modifying your plan for regionalization until we're satisfied with your plan. So it's clear that this is eroding local control. I mean, we don't have the control to say, no, this is our plan and that's it. We have to keep modifying it.
So when they talk about regionalization, it's not merging, it's not reorganizing, but then in the register, you see that it states clearly that by pooling resource, districts can reduce expenses related to staffing, curriculum development, and program delivery while embracing access to specialized service. I mean, I try not to go to my office and go to the house and come back to Oyster Bay, so I have a limited exposure, but when I go somewhere else and people ask me about the regionalization and they're confused, and unfortunately we have no answers, because when people put the two things together, they don't really match. And that's what the message that we have for you tonight, that is, we are posting these documents, we're sharing information, and we're looking at the two sources, and we say, how come they don't match? And that's the main question.
And we don't know, does this mean that we'd have to reduce the number of teachers and share with other districts? Or do we have to reduce, or maybe our athletic programs, if we have an athletic program that someone else doesn't have, or will others come and participate in ours when we can also go participate in theirs? Will we have to combine administrators? It could be anything. It could be custodial staff, it could be clerical staff, it could be teachers, administrators. We don't know what they want. So that's one of the concerning things for us. And what's more interesting is what Dr. Yanni originally said about reorganization, how they gave incentive aid for reorganization. So right now we get a certain foundation aid, which they're looking to cut. And we're wondering whether they're going to take that foundation aid and somehow distribute it through BOCES as an incentive aid. So if we agree to regionalize in these areas, then you can get this incentive aid. So even though it's not compelling you to regionalize, it's saying, well, you're not going to get, they could, I don't know whether they're going to do this, they're going to funnel aid through BOCES in some way. If we regionalize, we'll get the aid. And that's what we're really concerned about.
So to look at the next bullet, it talks about the regionalization is not a way to force districts into taking actions or including things in their regionalization plan they do not want to undertake. But then you look and you see that district superintendent responsibilities to make sure that all components school district actively participate in the planning process and adhere to the department's guidelines. Component school district responsibility, participate in all convenings, scheduled by the district superintendent and implement the approved regionalization plan. But again, we hear different things. We hear that you don't have to be part of it if you don't want to be part of it. But then, what is the question? What the incentive aid comes into play? We don't know. Again, you look at the regionalization plan that must be approved. So again, the same thing, must be approved, and it begins no later than 26-27, which when you think about it, we are planning for the 25-26 school year, so 26-27 is really around the corner. Again, this one talks about clearly, when you look at the register, the one that was posted in October, it talks about the district, the superintendent, the BOCES superintendent responsibility, and you see here that their responsibility is to observe the BOCES and the component school district. So again, you look at that and you look at the bullet that is not about service and support that the BOCES provide, is more about to increase, not about to increase the power, but then it's completely opposite. And a way to create accountability, Section D of the register, you see it, the department and district superintendent shall monitor the implementation of the regionalization plan. You can see it right there. Same thing, and such a review cycle should continue until it's approved by the department. So that regionalization plan must be approved must be done until it's approved. So, unfortunately, I wish I could have give you news that were clear, crystal clear, but you see that one thing that is written and what's in there, it's a little bit different. Ways to help, we have been communicating via posting on the website, sending the letter, working with the board, because we're really concerned about all the work that obviously we're doing and the fact that there is a plan, but we don't know the specifics. So we've been writing letters. I know that the board has retained a lawyer to specifically for regarding the regionalization. So we're doing everything. We posted an app so you can send later, concerning, if you're concerned about the regionalization plan. And we want to keep the community informed and keep you posted on everything that comes across our desk. This is a big deal. This is not just a conversation. This is something that, the more we are together, the more we work together for our students, the better it would be for our district.
And just to also point out that the Board of Regents met, I think it was last Monday, and our local regent, Mr. Tillis, actually asked them to modify the language in the register to reflect what they were actually saying it meant, but it doesn't say that. And they didn't amend it. They just reinstituted the same regulation for another 90 days, and that's concerning to us. And does the board have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to thank everyone on this board for all the work that they've done to reach out parents, other school districts, and local officials, and especially our board president. There's been a lot of work that you've put into this. I think it's important that the community know that as well, all the time that's gone in by Ms. Kowalski, and it's appreciated.
Thank you. And do you have the, there is a certain link on the coalition's website. I don't know, do we have it published anywhere, or is it on our website, where it's a simple form you can fill out to oppose it? Anyone in your family can fill out the form, and it'll go right to the state to oppose this regulation. And we think the more
I believe we posted on Parent Square, but we can resend it again in the morning.
Because we would like some more letters to go out as well before they meet again in January.
Yeah, we'll post it again via Parent Square.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Yanni.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Great
Dr.
presentation.
Yanni. Very good presentation.
Okay, Okay, let's move on to opportunity for the public to be heard on non-agenda items. Kimberly Schiller.
Thank you. It's fine. Thank you so much. Good evening. My name is Kimberly Schiller, and I'm a taxpayer in Oyster Bay. I've been living here for 14 years. I'm also a teacher in a neighboring district for 20 years. So I'm also the proud daughter of a former school secretary, and she taught me the value of hard work, the value of $1, and the value to appreciate everyone, especially the school clerical staff. I have real-world experience as a parent and an employee working in a local school district. As a parent, I cannot say enough kind words about all of the interactions with the clerical staff here in Oyster Bay, East Norwich. I know how much I depend on my clerical staff in my own school district, and I see the value in the Oyster Bay, East Norwich staff. Oyster Bay, like where I work, has had some turnover issues with admin and teachers over the years, and it's always the clerical staff who diligently work through these turnovers and ease the transitions. The clerical staff makes this seamless, so it's not noticeable to the community and everything seems fine. I was very surprised to hear that Oyster Bay's clerical department has been working without a contract for over a year now. I saw the rat outside. I joined them about a month ago, and I ask you, would you work without a contract for over a year? Why have negotiations not taken place? The cost of living has gone up for all of us, and the clerical staff is no different. They too feel the strain, and considering that we as residents are paying an extraordinary amount in taxes, I wonder why we have only been granting wage increases to administrators and not everyday clerical staff, who I know do all of the behind-the-scenes work. The clerical group pays one of the highest healthcare contributions in all of Long Island, a whopping 25%. None of this is fair, and I'm sure none of us in this room would be okay with these details. So please let us not wonder why they have been out front for the past 2 months at every single board meeting making noise with the union. It's because they don't have a contract. Not fostering a climate of fairness contributes to an increased turnover, and that is not what Oyster Bay East Norwich should be about. So I implore you to go to the negotiating table, offer a fair wage increase, fair health care contributions, and resolve this as soon as possible. Our community deserves the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Dawn Stein.
Good evening. I'm here as well to talk about the clericals who are working without a contract. And I was walking my dog, came across the rat outside, and I stopped and I talked to some of the women to find out what's going on. And that was when I found out that they've been working without a contract for over a year. And I asked some of them, what's happening? And I was looking at the numbers, and that's why, and you can correct me, my math could be horrible. I've lived here for over 30 years, and I'm surprised that the clericals had to go without a contract, and I was advised that everyone pays 25% of the total healthcare contribution. And it seems to me that that would be very difficult for someone who's making, on average, $50,729, whether it's between the 18% or the 25%. And I sat down to try to do the numbers to make some sense of this, and I saw that, and I looked up the New York State tax bracket, and if this is a married person, a clerical, by the time their taxes are out and they've contributed to this health care, they're down to making $35,000. And then, because I wanted to get a real feel for what was going on, because all of them said to me when we were out there, I'm tired of trying to juggle bills, which bill to be late on. I'm not looking for vacations and stuff like that. And then I tried to look at an average rent, And I saw that it leaves these people, if they're married, with $11,000. And it seems very at odds with our salaries. And it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem fair. My 3 children have gone through this school. They've had difficulties, each and of their own. And every single time they came home and said, their teachers are nice, the guidance is nice, but they're all very busy. But the people who smiled at them every day, the people who made them feel safe and valued, the people who showed to them that they mattered were the clericals. And we need to show them that they matter. They should not be working without a contract. They should not be losing so much of their money to this insurance, health insurance care. It doesn't seem fair. We're teaching our children social responsibility to feel for other people. We need to do the same. They show our kids that they matter to them. It's important for us to show them that they matter to us. They need more money. We need to give them something more. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Evelyn Ain.
Before you start the clock, please, I just want to go back to the whole thing that you guys were just talking about. And I've done a lot of work over the years with Albany and special education and monies and everything. I have to tell you, for many, many years, they were trying to figure out a way how to get into our pockets in Long Island and use that money for upstate New York. That's why you have all the districts from upstate New York excluded. There's a lot more politicians up there than down here to protect us. So whatever you guys are doing, whatever help you need, we're here. This is a nightmare, and it's just going to be a very, very, very bad thing for our district. And not to mention, it's going to kill our real estate values. Whatever we worked so hard for, it's going to kill it. So, with that said, so my name is Evelyn. I am also here. Yeah, can you give me like 15 minutes? 15 minutes? So good evening, everybody, members of the board, school officials, and everyone that I forgot to mention. My name is Evelyn, and first I would like to take this opportunity as an Oyster Bay resident to thank each and every one of you, and obviously your predecessors, for preventing and keeping away negativity that other districts endure that, thank God, I've never seen in this district. This district is such a pleasure to deal with. Back in 2001, my son was diagnosed with autism. And back then, nobody really knew much about autism, nor did we have any programs in a lot of districts for special education. When he started going to a different program, Brookville at AHRC, Debbie Kinke literally knocked on my door and said, we want to get parents involved. We want to create a special ed program. And we want to get parents involved because we want this to be a program that not only we're going to like, but that the parents are going to love. And to me, this is the whole essence of the school. This is what the school is all about. This is what people come back to Oyster Bay after leaving, which is very, very unusual in a lot of different areas. I also want to tell you that I'm very proud of the program that Oyster Bay has now for special education, a program that I was part of in helping to create. Little did I know that 20 plus years later, my daughter will be a direct recipient of that program in the school. For those of you who don't know my daughter's history, she fought a very long cancer battle. We almost lost her a couple of times, and thankfully now she's in remission, and she benefits from the special education program in this particular program. Now, when I walk into school every single day, I will tell you what I see. I see a spotless school. beautifully decorated. Security that does not miss a single thing. And I also see a bunch of ladies taking attendance. They know the children, they know who's a troublemaker, who's not, who comes in with a pass, who doesn't have the pass. And there are an incredible bunch of women that it's sad to think that they have to fight for something that all of us need. We all need money. We all need to live on, especially living on Long Island. They go way more than they need to do. I'm getting a couple of things confused now. So my daughter also had 2 massive strokes while she was in therapy. While she was fighting cancer. And a lot of simple things that will not be a big deal to any one of us are very stressful for my daughter. And when a situation occurs, she left a Chromebook somewhere. To her, it's World War, that's it, the world is ending. The ladies from the office, they're running all around the school looking for it. And it's not their job. It's really, they don't have to be doing that. When she's not feeling well, when she overheats outside, or went somewhere and her heart is racing, she's sitting in that office. They're talking to her, they're giving her water, they're giving her pretzels to calm her down. This is what makes this school district an incredible place to live. I'm proud to say that my kids benefit from being here. I'm sorry I'm taking too long, but I'm just very, very passionate about showing everyone what they're worth. And I feel that when you have to fight for something as simple as, not even a contract, a raise, when you come to work, you're already not in a good headspace. You're not going to give this building, these children, what you could potentially give them if you were happier. And I know that all of you, I know some of you on the board, but not a lot of people. But from the people that I do know, you guys are very smart. And I'm proud to have you watching over us. And I'm sure, positive, if you guys sat down reasonably, I'm sure you could come up with some easy solution that will make everyone happy. At the end of the day, everybody needs to be happy, both parties. And with that, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate every single thing that you guys do. And please do not stop the fight with Albany. That is one of the most important things that we're facing with right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'd just like to point just 2 things. The first one and the most important one is that unfortunately in our position over here, we cannot respond, we cannot discuss negotiation that is going on. I want to say 2 things. The first one and the most important one is that we value our secretarial staff. And the second thing is that we have a meeting scheduled on November 19th, so I look forward to that meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's the end. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Second? Thank you, everyone.